Good day, everyone, and welcome to 12 at 12. Today we have Joleen Koehly, full-time faculty in fashion marketing and management, and she's going to present on quantifying professional development. And just a reminder that if you want faculty development credit, we all do, go to the Google Forms link and fill out the kind of survey about the development. And then also, if you have any questions on 12 and 12, please email me, Ellen Norris at enorris@aii.edu. So I'm going to give it over to Joleen.
Hello, everyone. How are you today? Let's make sure we can see my screen.
Yes, go for it.
Yeah, very good. I always forget that step. What I'm presenting today is how to quantify professional development, because some of the things come out in between in terms of how we can show our credit. So I want to talk a little bit about that, and I want to talk about ways to store, organize, and quantify our professional development hours beyond just certificates and transcripts. And the difference quickly between faculty development and professional development. Faculty development is learning to be a better instructor within the class, and we have lots of great seminars available to us on that. However, professional development is learning to be better within your professional field, and the idea is then that we bring this back to our classroom to share. What should we be doing for professional development? Classes, courses, activities that keep us fresh, activities that are in service and support of our students in our disciplines, activities that help our students and target professional community at large, and things that we bring back to our classroom. What is quantifiable evidence? And forgive me if I'm talking too fast. I talk fast when I'm nervous. Quantifiable certificates, transcripts, programs with your name, articles with you as author, mention of an event and your attendance, or speaking in publication, traditional or digital. Many conferences publish lists of who is attending. Programs with the courses and times of events with badges, tickets, invoices, and photos. Emails and letter of thanks. Plaques and awards. Posts in your classrooms that link to what you've done. So if you did a seminar and it's relevant to your classroom, you can link that within your classroom, especially now with Brightspace. And thank yous and posts from students saying how the information that you've gotten elsewhere has helped them in the classroom and helped them to learn. And so, since our time is a little limited, I wanted to give two specific examples, one that's obvious and one that's a little less obvious. And I'm using fashion because I'm a fashion instructor, but of course this also applies to all of our disciplines. And here's a good example. I teach modern history of fashion. This exhibition at the Dolly Museum, which is a couple of hours drive from my home in South Florida, on Dolly and Schiaparelli presented, features gowns and accessories, jewelry, paintings, drawings, objects, and photos, as well as new designs for the revamp of Maison Schiaparelli. And this is the first exhibit of its kind. Now, how can I document my attendance and the professional development? I actually have a friend who is a docent at this museum. So an email from her having invited me and explaining what that we did, how long it took, and how valuable the experience will be for my students. And also you can do this as a social media post. For example, Facebook and the group for our majors, or even the museum's social media. And how will I use it in my classroom? So I would post pictures and information from the event during the week we cover this designer and her most active time period. And then I would take screenshots to save to my pro development folder, which I keep in Evernote, but there are many similar programs and similar storage folders. In fact, we were just talking about Dropbox a few minutes ago. That's also a great place to have your professional development folder. I use Evernote and then I tag it with the year. So I have a professional development folder, I tag it 2018, and then when it comes time to do my PPAR, I just bring everything up and I can then insert it into my PPAR documentation. Now here's a less obvious but still very viable example. I participate in National Novel Writing Month every November, and in this, participants write a 50,000 word novel in 30 days. Now, how can this be related to activities to help a fashion professional? Well, we do weekly write-ins, and we have a very active municipal liaison for our area, and he's a professional editor, and he likes to do workshops and question and answer sessions each week at the write-ins where he talks about special topics and grammar and writing and answers questions to do with editing. And he can now send me a nice thank you letter for attending that says, Jolene, I was so glad to hear that you will be using the information on common grammar errors in your classroom to help your fashion students be better writers. And then this email or letter goes into my documentation. Additional evidence that we can look at, post of topics and links of workshops and regional topic discussion boards, screenshots of the post in the classroom, answering posts from students remarking on the importance of the information. So if I post on Schiaparelli that week in Modern History of Fashion, and a student sends a post saying, thank you very much for this image from the museum. It really helped me to understand this designer when we were working on this week. Quantify it, put it in your folder. It's there to help you show what you've been doing has helped you in the classroom. And you can also show before and after examples of student improvement. How the students did before we started using these images. Are they doing better after we've started using these images or any information? What if plans are not quantifiable by a third person's source? We now have a new form to request, and I'm going to try and do this without hanging up on us, to request a faculty development option. And this gives us an opportunity to request professional development and to quantify and get permission to do a special topic. So we have this form that we can fill out with, and very specifically, wow, I'm tongue-tied today, explain what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. And the form that you can get, either you can request it from me and I can send it to you, but your lead should also have it. And this is an example of someone who put together a request for a professional development project, quantifying how it will be targeted and documented. And then one other thing, I know we're running out of time, but I just really quickly wanted to show one of the forms that I did a panel on how to design an original character for cosplay, and how long it showed on the form, how long on the program, how long it took, and what the topic was. So this went into my Evernote, into the professional development folder, and it was tagged with the year that I attended this so that I could pull it up and use it. And I think that you'll find a lot of what we do is absolutely quantifiable if we remember to track and sort and source. So is that our time?
Actually, you have a few more minutes. I think that form is going to be amazing for people to use. And we didn't have time before the presentation to get it into the handouts area. However, I put in the chat, once again, my email address. Joleen, I could also put yours in there as well for them to email about any of it. And actually, I think it would be really handy to have a copy of this presentation as well to as a handout. So if people are interested, I'll make sure that I get it. So the recording version of this 12 at 12 has the this PDF of your presentation as well as the handout in it. So
Absolutely. If anyone wants to email me, please feel free.
and do you have any other thoughts to add?
I think the primary thought is if we look at accreditation, which a lot of our documentation is based on being able to do this, the idea is if it's not documented, it doesn't exist. And I know we go to a lot of things and we do a lot of things and we participate in a lot of things that can be quantified. For example, I did a huge project this last summer and I put it in my PPAR and I was told there's no actual documentation. So I called the organizer and I said, look, I need some quantifiable documentation for our project this summer. Could you please write me a letter on your letterhead explaining what I did and how it'll relate to my work in the classroom? Of course, his response was, you write it, I'll sign it, which is totally valid. So I was able to get the needed documentation for many hours. I did many hours on that project. And all that I was required to have to prove it was some quantifiable documentation that could be held in a folder. So often we do many things that count and we just sort of forget to quantify them, and it's often easy to collect materials at the time and place and or get someone to send us a nice thank you email or documentation. Even if my friend was not a docent at that exhibit, I'm sure that one of the organizers would have been glad to do the same thing because it promotes their institution as well. So many times there are things that we can do and save that help us to quantify.
Wonderful. Thank you for this valuable information. And that wraps up 12 at 12 this week. We'll see you next week. Thank you, Joleen.
Thank you.